There are millions of people who are suffering. They're being ignored, they're not getting treatment, and they're suffering. We know exactly what their diagnosis is. I know exactly what it is. I know what it's caused by, and I know how to treat it, and they will not let us treat these people. The NIH knows about these people. They know what causes it, and they will not treat these people. And that has to change. There's no disease in medicine that you can't treat. It's never too late. These vaccine-injured people are suffering, and we need to do something for them. They suffer. It's a terrible disease. The medical community needs to wake up. This is a real disease. We need to change. And the legislators in this country need to be real people. This is a humanitarian crisis.
I'd like to ask you guys, how much more is it going to take for other doctors to speak out?
I think like what Paul just said, like there has to be a recognition of vaccine injury, and once that becomes a thing, it becomes normalized. It slowly to be let people talk about it. And that's one of the great sadnesses is that I look at the system, right, and you see all of these long haul COVID clinics at all these academic medical centers. I hate to denigrate them, but I can't help it. But I mean, they're absolutely worthless. I mean, they just test and refer and counsel, and they don't treat. But there are no vaccine injury clinics, and we know there's an epidemic of vaccine injuries. I mean, these are the most toxic medical interventions known to man. And going into COVID, I didn't know how dangerous vaccines were. I never really paid attention to them. I accepted it as an implicit good. And then now that I've thought and looked critically at the data, I understand that these vaccines that we use have been dangerous for a long time. I don't know how to make it okay or when the doctor is going to speak up, but I do know that with this particular intervention, this humanitarian catastrophe, this incredible overreach and the amount of death and destruction in its wake, that I think society is going to change around this. I mean, we cannot ignore it forever. And those are my hopes, is that if we keep talking, keep paying attention, as long as they keep vaccinating, I mean, this thing is not going to stop. And hopefully we're going to see change come around it, and we can normalize this and stop doing really bad things to people.
My last point is, Pierre and I, we put the FLCC together because in March of 2020, the NIH said there's no treatment for COVID. Patients were dying in New York. If you're on a ventilator, you had an 80% chance of dying. The NIH, the CDC, the WHO all said, sorry guys, there's no treatment, which was outrageous. How can you do that? Even if, as a doctor, you got to do something. So that's why we put the FLCC together. And now we're doing the same thing for the vaccine injured, because nobody wants to treat them. So you know what? We will treat them.